Hello, my name is Rafly Alfianto from Class E, Industrial Engineering. I explain about interpreting. What is interpreting? The interpreting is an activity that consists of establishing oral or manual communication between two or more speakers who are not speaking or signing the same language. The role of the interpreter is to help establish direct communication between the professional and the person with limited English proficiency, or LEP. The types of interpreting.
Language interpretation involves the transmission of a message from a source language to a target language through an oral medium. You knew this already. But did you know that there are over 8 types of interpretation? Consecutive interpretation requires the speaker to pause every few sentences to allow the interpreter to repeat the message into the target language. This is great for medical examinations, one-on-one meetings, or court depositions. Simultaneous interpretation, on the other hand, happens when the interpreter renders a message into the target language as the speaker delivers it. If you've ever watched the Oscars in a non-English speaking country, you know what we're talking about. This method is great for conferences, lectures, and presentations with a large audience. In whispered interpreting or chuchotage, the interpreter sits next to the listener and whispers the message in the target language as to not interrupt the speaker. Now, relay interpreting involves multiple linguists, and it's generally used for extremely rare languages, where a first professional will deliver the language in a more common tongue, and the second interpreter will then interpret it for the target language. Liaison interpreting is the most informal method of interpreting and usually happens during site visits, with groups of 10 to 15 people. The linguist accompanies the group on its visit and interprets whenever required. Site translation usually happens at court and involves the oral rendition of a written text. For instance, a statement from a foreign witness. Interpreting services can also be classified by the medium by which they're being delivered. In-person interpreting might be the best option for a more personal communication that requires the interpreter to read body language. But if you're pressed in time or have a lower budget, phone or video interpreting might be your best choice. There is one thing all of these interpreting methods have in common. They're all provided by mother tongue professionals of every language at Day Translations.
There are 4 ways to interpret the law, namely, first, grammatical interpretation. Finding the law in this way means that the provisions contained in the regulation are interpreted or explained by describing it in everyday common language. Second, systematic interpretation. This method of interpretation interprets the regulation by relating them to legal regulations or other laws, or with the entire legal system. Third, historical interpretation. Historical interpretation is the interpretation of the meaning of law according to its emergence by examining the history of the emergence of law. Analogical interpretation. This method of interpretation just interprets the law according to the lawmaker's objective. Analogical interpretation occurs when the meaning of the law is determined based on a social purpose.